Welcome back, everybody, to our Detroit Lions free agency preview. I'm Kyle Meinke, joined by Nate Atkins. Today we're talking about linebackers, and this is a huge area of need for the Lions in terms of personnel, but especially just ability. This was a huge void for the Lions last year. It's supposed to be a strength, and it became precariously thin because of injury and so forth. Jon Bostic didn't play a snap for the Lions last year. Josh Bynes missed the first half of the year. Even the guys who you were counting on. DeAndre Levy's only played 6 games the last 2 years combined. Tahir Whitehead did play last year, but he really struggled to generate plays, and that was true for the Lions across the board. 0 interceptions from the linebackers, 0 sacks from the linebackers, 0 forced fumbles from their linebackers. That's an incredible stat. It really, I think, really tells the story of a linebacking core that failed to make plays for the Lions last year.
Yeah, the Lions have built up their D-line to be big, and it's somewhat hidden some of the flaws back there, but they came out at certain points definitely trying to guard running backs and tight ends. I mean, they started to correct the tight end issue with their safeties, but running backs were a huge issue all year. Tahir Whitehead's a really interesting guy because, they could move on from him really easily contractually and save some money. They could also look at the fact that he's 26 and say, he was maybe better as an outside linebacker. Let's look at middle linebacker. They've got a lot of issues there, and I don't know that they can fill all of them this year in free agency and the draft, but that's why we're here to talk about them and see what they can do.
Okay, so let's move on to some of the big names at linebacker. This year, Nate, there's no bigger name at linebacker in free agency than Dont'a Hightower. The Patriots might be insistent on keeping him. I mean, they did trade Jamie Collins last year, so that might be a sign that they're going to be franchise tagging Hightower or maybe arriving at a long-term deal. I'm not sure, but if he does hit the market, he's going to make a sense for any team that's looking for a dynamic playmaking linebacker who can rush the passer, and of course the Lions are looking for exactly that guy. I mean, again, they just had no playmaking ability at that position, and Hightower is one of the best in the league.
We've seen Hightower over the years, especially in the Super Bowl run, how much he can offer. He is a game-changing linebacker, and unfortunately for the market, those guys are starting to get paid now. Luke Kuechly and Jamie Collins in the past couple of years have gotten monster deals. I think Hightower's next, and that's why I'm a little iffy on him for the Lions, just because we don't know how he's going to play in a lot of space in the 4-3 like that. And I totally agree about his blitzing. That'd be a nice little element. I still think that has a little more of a role in the 3-4. And so a guy that I look to that's going to be a little cheaper than that is Gerald Hodges of the 49ers. He's a guy that we know from the division. He played with the Vikings, was a 4th-round pick, always a backup there, and they let him go, which was surprising for a Mike Zimmer defense to do, considering how successful he's been in a year and a half in San Francisco. This guy's been very steady against the run. He's found a little bit in the blitzing area, but he's most impressive in coverage, and that's why I think he's a guy who can transition from playing in tight in a 3-4 into the 4-3 type of role, and the Lions have to start guarding running backs and tight ends better than they've done with their linebackers.
And I think another guy like that too is Zach Brown from Buffalo. I mean, he had a really good first half to last season. The problem he had was the second half, and the first half it was awesome. And he was one of the better pass rushing linebackers. He was good against the run. He was a solid player, and he made plays. So he had 4 sacks. He had a couple of forced fumbles and interception. I mean, he made some plays and was able to provide some production that the Lions are looking for. I mean, they have solid pieces in Detroit. Tahir's not terrible. Yeah. Bynes has been okay. I think Levy's going to probably, I mean, who knows what happens with the injury, but he's an okay player when he is out there. But they need playmakers, and a guy like Brown, I think, would add an element of that in Detroit.
Yeah, he is a good player. He's really flashed in moments, and you wonder, will he be able to put that together? I definitely think that you mentioned Levy and Whitehead both have value on at outside linebacker. So I look a little bit more at middle linebacker, guys they can go out and get. I think Perry Riley would be an interesting guy to really examine there. He's 29 years old, bounced around with a couple teams, but I think that's because he's really meant to be in a 4-3. He tailed out in Washington, I should say, when they moved to the 3-4. When he went back to Oakland, it was in the 4-3, really settled that run defense down, and he can cover pretty well too, and I keep going back to it, but I think they've got to find a middle linebacker who can cover, so the fact that he can do it, I think at least deserves a look.
Okay, let's move along to some potential bargains. I actually think Perry Riley might come in a bargain, and if so, the Lions could be interested. Another guy would be Mike Morgan from Seattle, outside linebacker. He's been there for 6-7 years now. He's a longtime Seahawk. Never really played much, but he was buried behind Bobby Wagner and KJ Wright. Yeah. And so people are kind of curious about what he could do in a more pronounced role. Did start 3 games last year for the Seahawks. He played well. He signed multiple contracts with them. Seattle obviously liked what they got out of the guy, and so coming from a scheme like that, one of the best defenses in the league, a guy who's played with some really great linebackers, could offer some intriguing potential at a very low price.
I think another potential bargain for the Lions would be Rolando McClain, and that's sort of a charged name to throw out there because he's missed 2 years now. with suspensions. He missed last year with a suspension for substance abuse. He's got a lot of off-the-field issues, but he is so talented. It's why he was a first-round pick. He's an athletic talent you just don't often find at middle linebacker. And the Lions have shown that they will take a chance on a guy, and in this case, it's a third chance to give him. But depending on where he falls in the market, if that's a small risk financially for them, I wouldn't be shocked to see them roll the dice there with how much they need playmaking at linebacker.
The Lions have just one free agent at the position in Josh Bynes. Plenty of uncertainty at linebacker as they try to forge ahead. No one knows what to expect from DeAndre Levy and his 2-year bout with health issues now. To hear Whitehead had some issues last year in his first full year as a starter, no real playmaking ability, and that was apparent. I mean, that was hard to miss. And so as the Lions go about trying to find some people who can make plays in the middle of their defense, they could look at the draft. For example, Tim Williams from Alabama has been mocked to the Lions quite a bit. He's a playmaking, pass-rushing linebacker. He'd fit what they're looking for. But there's some guys available like that in free agency as well. They're the high-priced guys, the low-priced guys. Plenty of ways Bob Quinn can go as he tries to address the lack of playmaking ability in the middle of his defense. Lots going to happen over the course of the next few days as the start of free agency approaches us on March 9, 4 p.m. The market will open. Plenty is going to happen before then, so we will be all over it here at MLive. Keep it right here.